We were there as federal investigators unveiled corruption charges.
Did you accept any bribes? Did you have a cheap patio built onto your house as a part of all this?
News Center 7 starts now.
4 men, including former politicians, now stand indicted as part of an investigation into corruption. And investigators say there could be more arrests. Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl McHenry.
I'm James Brown. News Center 7 cut into programming to first break this story this morning. The men indicted here: Brian Higgins, former state representative Clayton Luckey, former Dayton City Commissioner Joey Williams, and current City of Dayton employee Rashawn Winburn.
We have Team 7 coverage with News Center 7's Jim Oddie, Mike Campbell, and Kate Bartley. Jim begins our Team 7 coverage with what the FBI said about this case this afternoon. Jim?
State and federal authorities unveiled the details of this corruption probe right here at the federal courthouse this afternoon. The men at the center of this investigation, those being targeted, their time in Dayton politics and in doing business here in Dayton, that all goes back decades.
This ongoing investigation.
U.S. Attorney Benjamin Glassman says the multi-year investigation is over, although this is just the beginning of the criminal indictments.
We're here this afternoon to announce the first wave of charges arising out of a long-term investigation into suspected public corruption here in Dayton, Ohio.
And here are the charges and the targets of this federal probe of corruption in Dayton city government. First, Joey Williams, a former city commission member, facing a charge of bribery as a government official. Rashawn Winburn, a current city employee and the Minority Business Assistance Center director, charged with wire fraud and public corruption. Clayton Luckey, a former state representative, his charge is conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. And finally, Brian Higgins, a local business owner, charged with wire fraud.
This has been a lengthy investigation using a variety of sophisticated investigative methods to uncover what appears to be a culture of corruption in Dayton area politics.
This is not a victimless crime. I know that some cynics out there that say if it bleeds, it leads. Well, what's bleeding here is our trust in government. The victims of this crime are each and every citizen who pays their taxes, who follows the law.
Prosecutors say each of the men charged could face many years in prison if they're convicted. And this is not the end of this. More charges could be coming.
We've got multiple different people who are employees of the city of Dayton or former employees of the city of Dayton, elected officials or employees who, according to the allegations of the indictment, participated in corrupt schemes to defraud the citizens of good government.
Back live here in downtown Dayton at the Federal Building here. As we mentioned earlier, this is far, far from over. Now, coming up later in the newscast, I'll show you how federal authorities now reaching out to you, average citizens all over the Miami Valley, people who might have some additional information to help them in the next phase of this investigation. That's coming at 6. For now, live in Dayton, Jim Oddie, News Center 7.
All right, Jim, and despite federal investigators saying they found a culture of corruption in Dayton area government, this afternoon, Dayton city manager said the city was shocked with these indictments. The city said it has already hired an outside firm to review all of the processes involved in bidding contracts. News Center 7's Mike Campbell joins us live at City Hall. Mike, you have worked all day to track down city leaders, and in this afternoon's news conference, no sign whatsoever of Mayor Nan Whaley.
Well, James, I did reach out to the mayor this morning, and then I checked with her legislative aide here at commission offices, was told that she was not scheduled to be in today. Now, I told you at noon that our questions had prompted city leaders to decide to make a statement about what they're doing. And this afternoon, in a wide-ranging news conference, the city manager told us that behind these doors and inside this building, Dayton leaders did not know about the federal investigation.
I'm as shocked about this as others are at this point.
Dayton City Manager Shelley Dickstein says the arrest by federal agents of Rashawn Winburn, who was escorted to the Dayton Federal Building, and the charges involving former City Commissioner Joey Williams took them by surprise. And the charges of corruption and fraud involving them and 2 other men unleashed a wave of emotions.
There is anger, there's frustration, there is abject sadness.
The charges involving a former commissioner and former school board member Clayton Luckey had Dayton residents shaking their heads too. Surprise you?
Yes, it really did, especially after Clayton Luckey got in trouble before, and now Joey Williams.
City officials reacted swiftly, placing their only current employee charged, Rashawn Winburn, on an unpaid administrative leave. And they say they're reaching out to federal investigators for more information. We asked if they knew whether any more city employees or leaders had been interviewed by investigators.
I don't have any knowledge about others being questioned by the FBI.
A federal prosecutor says more people are likely to be charged in connection to this case, but the city manager didn't like his characterization of politics in Dayton, Ohio as a, quote, culture of corruption.
I would wholeheartedly disagree that there is a culture. I believe that there are individuals who sometimes make bad decisions, and we will deal with that.
The city manager says this, in addition to hiring that outside law firm that will review the Human Relations Council where Rashawn Winburn worked, they are also reviewing every contract that's scheduled to come before commissioners to make sure it's not related to this incident. Now stay with us next hour because we are working to bring you comments from a Dayton contractor about the frustration he feels learning about potential corruption in Dayton city contracts. For now, reporting live in downtown Dayton, Mike Campbell, News Center 7.
News Center 7 had a camera outside the federal building in downtown Dayton as Joey Williams left following his initial court appearance. Coming up at 5:30, Walt Williams' attorney told News Center 7's Kate Bartley, plus the other reactions she got from attorneys for the other men indicted. And as you heard a minute ago from the U.S. attorney, there could be more people charged as part of this investigation. As this case moves forward, News Center 7 will stay on top of new developments, and we will let you know when there are any new indictments. We have much more Team 7 coverage on our free WHIO News app. There we take a closer look at who these 4 suspects are and what we know about them. Plus, you can get the latest updates any time of day whenever we learn new information.
And News Center 7 is on scene. Breaking news. This is in Washington Township. I want to give you a live look right now. This is in the area of Far Hills Avenue. Investigators told our crew on scene they got called about the smell of gas. There was a small gas leak at a nearby Shell gas station. Now, this is right there where Dorothy Lane Market is, in that large outdoor shopping area there in Washington Township. Now, this involves about 15 gallons at the most, according to crews there on scene. Crews have contained it in a creek. The EPA is on the way to that scene to investigate. We will keep checking back there. And News Center 7 is working to learn new information in a quadruple murder investigation. Today, a dive team with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation searched this pond behind a Westchester Township apartment complex where the 4 people died. Now, this comes as police said they have not arrested a suspect, but said they do have a person of interest. News Center 7's John Bedell just got the victims' names. John is looking at what led up to the shooting Sunday night, and he will join us at 5:30.
The former soccer coach who had a sexual relationship with a teenage player was found guilty on many more charges this afternoon. Today, Justin Smith agreed to a plea deal with prosecutors. New at 5, News Center 7's Sean Cudahy is live with how today's developments fit into this lengthy case. Sean.
Cheryl, Justin Smith already knows he'll have to spend 12 years in prison. He could now be facing more time after telling a judge today he's guilty on 20 more charges.
While my actions in this case are deplorable, I'd do anything to take them back. But I know that I can't.
That was the former soccer coach back in January when a judge told him he'd have to spend more than a decade in prison for having a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old girl he coached. But even as Justin Smith learned that punishment, News Center 7 reported he was in even more trouble, facing 41 more charges, including charges related to child porn. Smith was first indicted in May 2018 and stood trial in October, but on Halloween, he ran off just minutes after taking the stand in his own defense. Smith cut off his ankle monitoring device, and occasionally photos would turn up of him on the run in Kentucky and in Tennessee. Deputies say he was using several cell phones and cash to slide under the radar, but his journey ended in December in Okaloosa County, Florida, where a woman he met on an online dating service got suspicious and reported him to investigators. I was there just a few days later as Smith arrived back in Dayton. He wasn't talkative that night.
Justin, why'd you run? What do you have to say to your community, Justin?
Now, more than 4 months later, guilty pleas on 20 more charges for Smith, avoiding another trial set to start just days from now. And instead of that trial in mid-May, Smith will now learn his next punishment when he's sentenced on May 16th. You can read all the charges he pleaded guilty to today on our WHIO News app. Reporting live, Sean Cudahy, News Center 7.
And a man who shot and killed a 13-year-old boy could spend the rest of his life in prison. The judge sentenced McQuan Hubbard to life with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Hubbard fired 15 shots and killed Jarius Gilbert Jr. in Hamilton last summer. Last week, a jury convicted co-defendant Cameron Tunstall for murder. He gave Hubbard the gun used in that shooting.
A Wayne County man accused of trying to have someone killed is still in the Montgomery County Jail this afternoon. As News Center 7 told you earlier this month, investigators arrested Larry Blackstock in Dayton. He'd been wanted for months after he did not show up in Wayne County court. Blackstock is being held on $1 million bond. He's due back in court in late May. Blackstock allegedly tried to get a woman to kill an informant by paying her with drugs.
And troopers keep searching for the driver involved in a crash, but then just kept on going in Greene County. We first worked this story as breaking news last night at 11. News Center 7's Kayla Corvell has a description of the vehicle and what happened to other people involved in this crash.
In one of the cars involved in the crash, there were 2 adults and a 3-year-old child. They're now all recovering with minor injuries here at Greene Memorial Hospital.
Very fortunate they had their seatbelts on. They could have been easily ejected out of this crash. The child was in a child restraint, which significantly made the injuries almost nothing for the infant.
This is the vehicle the 3 people were in on US 35 at Stringtown Road in New Jasper Township when they collided with another vehicle.
One of them went off the right side of the roadway, at which time it went down an embankment. Flipped, overturned several times.
The driver of the second vehicle involved in the crash drove away. But a person who saw the crash had a good description of the car involved.
Newer model, white, 4-door type vehicle, possibly a Chevy Cruze. They're not sure on the make and model of that one. It should have some pretty good significant damage to it based on the impact of it.
Ohio State Patrol sent out a be on the lookout alert for law enforcement agencies in Greene County and surrounding areas to help locate the vehicle involved.
It's unfortunate that these things happen and everything like that. But if you're involved in it, you need to stop and stick around so the appropriate responsibility can be awarded to you. Need to be awarded to.
Troopers say if you have any information, you're asked to contact the Ohio State Patrol. In Xenia, Kayla Corvell, News Center 7.
Kayla has been investigating the problem with unsolved hit-and-run crashes across the Miami Valley for the I-Team, and coming your way at 5:30. Hear why police have such a hard time catching those drivers.
News Center 7 looks closer at a teacher who hosted poker parties and let students use his hot tub. New this afternoon, we get a better idea of the timeline of when this happened and then why it took 5 years for this teacher to lose his teaching license this month.
The threat for severe weather returns not only Wednesday but into Thursday. I'm going to track the threat for those thunderstorms and when they move in coming up.
What police said a man told them after he tried taking this car with kids inside, and the reason officers do not buy that excuse.
Say a carjacking caught on camera showed a man trying to steal a car with 2 kids inside. And now News Center 7 has learned the suspect told police this was a mistake. News Center 7's John Bedell is in Middletown with some of what police say the suspect told them right after they arrested him.
A Middletown police report WHIO obtained about a carjacking incident here at Atrium Medical Center shows the suspect responded to police by saying, quote, "My mistake," when they asked him about what happened, but officers say it was no mistake, it was criminal. This security video shows the moment Middletown police say Dalveer Singh took off from Atrium Medical Center. Officers said he just snagged a running car with 2 kids inside. On the right side of the car, you can see the 8 and 10-year-old siblings escape. Police said Singh grabbed the girl's hoodie to try and keep her in the car, but the 10-year-old was able to get away. On the left, you can see their grandmother, who was driving, chasing after the car just before she was dragged by the vehicle trying to save her grandchildren. Police said she had gotten out to help her daughter out of the car and into the emergency room here at Atrium. Officers said Singh jumped in 10 seconds later. Aside from claiming the whole thing was, quote, his mistake, the Middletown police report also says Singh admitted to officers he knew there were 2 kids in the car and that he tried to keep Grandma from opening the car door before he sped away. Police said when they asked Singh how he got the car, he said, quote, "I take it." He's now facing felony charges including kidnapping, grand theft, and assault. Singh has a court appearance set for Friday. We'll keep tracking this case and let you know what happens. In Middletown, I'm John Bedell, News Center 7.
News Center 7 has new information this afternoon on a deadly crash. Logan Clark of the Middletown area died when a semi hit him early this morning at State Route 123 in Lebanon. And troopers said Clark was not in a car at the time of this crash. They have not released any other information.
The FBI said technical problems all last week at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport was linked to a ransomware attack. Agents said they found the ransomware on the airport's network, but the city did not consider making any payments. Last week, city leaders denied that any unauthorized personnel accessed the system. A city official said the city was asked to respond to an email address for more information, but the city did not respond.
And Dayton police working an investigation trying to figure out who cashed fraud checks through a church's account. The checks added up to almost $2,200. PNC Bank caught the error and put the money back in Mount Olive Church of God's bank account.
A fire at a vacant home in Dayton is under investigation this afternoon. Neighbors noticed flames coming from the back of the house here on Fountain Avenue this morning. Firefighters tell us the property is being remodeled. The fire was contained to the first floor. There's no word yet on how much it will cost to fix the damage.
A 6-state effort focused on distracted driving found drivers broke the law more than 1,600 times. As part of the week-long initiative, Ohio troopers wrote more than 270 tickets. Investigators said distracted driving includes any non-driving activity, including messing around with the radio or texting.
Lots of clouds around today and chilly, too.
Yes, I did not leave the house without the jacket. So,
right, you needed it.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't just the temperature, but the wind out there just took the temperature and made it feel so much cooler. And the fact of the matter is we're just on the north side of a warm front that's to our south. If you see down into northern Kentucky what the temperature is, you'll be quite jealous. We do tap into the warmer air tomorrow, but it also brings about the chances for some thunderstorms. And I'm going to take you through that forecast hour by hour. Live Doppler 7 radar, you can see we are coming up mainly dry in our region. We do have a few spotty showers crossing through Mercer and Auglaize County, but there are also clouds beginning to break to the south and west. So some late day sunshine perhaps down towards Butler, Warren, and Clinton counties before that cloud cover begins to fill back in. A lot of thunderstorm activity off to northwestern Indiana that continues to move towards Michigan. This is the same storm system that brings about the threat for strong, if not severe weather for Wednesday and Thursday. Take a look at what's happening in Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma. We have a number of tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings. While we do see the potential for severe weather, the tornadic threat is not something we are anticipating. Severe weather outlook, we have a marginal risk for a couple of storms tomorrow that may reach severe limits. That is also the type of risk we have for us on Thursday, where the entire viewing area has to be on the lookout for the threat that one or two storms may become strong enough that we prompt a severe thunderstorm warning. Damaging winds, flooding, and hail are going to be the main concern with those storms over the next 48 hours. Look at that warm front I was just telling you about. We are at 62 degrees in the city of Dayton. 80s just to our south, really not even that far to our south is where those temperatures rise back into those 70s and 80s. But we're at 52 in Wapakoneta, 50 in Salina, more than a 10-degree difference from north to south, 65 in Springboro, 63 in Xenia. A look outside over downtown Dayton, you can see those mostly cloudy skies in place. We have an easterly wind at 13 miles an hour, which does make it feel cooler at times. Your current air temperature in the low 60s. We're going to hover around those lower 60s for the duration of the night and then actually start to climb towards sunrise tomorrow as that warm front starts to lift back northward. In fact, it may even bring a few spotty showers or a rumble of thunder during that early part of the day. Tomorrow's highs, nearly 80 degrees. 79 is our forecasted high for you in Dayton, 78 in Eaton area, and then Oxford up around 80 degrees as well. Wouldn't be surprised if someone does, in fact, hit 80 tomorrow. When we look at Futurecast, you'll see through the night we stay quiet. We have some broken cloud cover into the start of Wednesday. Then as we move towards Wednesday afternoon, this is when we see some energy that may spark off some showers and thunderstorms. There's 4:30 tomorrow morning, or afternoon, should I say. Some showers and storms start to move on through, very isolated, so there may be some spots that don't see much in the way of precipitation at all, but where those storms do bubble up is where we may see that threat for that strong to severe thunderstorm developing. Tomorrow night we'll look at some quieter weather before more storms move in on Thursday. Outside of storms tomorrow, we're going to be ramping up the winds. You can see winds gusting up at 8 o'clock in the morning as high as 30 to 35 miles an hour. While Futurecast didn't show any shower or thunderstorm activity, we may want to check back in with Kirsty in the morning because energy like this oftentimes sparks off a few showers. As we head into the afternoon, we still have some gusty winds with a threat for those thunderstorms, and winds throughout the day could gust anywhere between 30 to 40. As we look at your 5-day forecast, we have that storm tracking alert for you tomorrow as well as as Thursday. Temperatures will be in the mid to upper 70s both days, so we certainly have enough energy and warmth to fuel those storms. A few more showers on Friday, again on Saturday before we dry things out finally as we head towards Sunday. At 5:30, meteorologist Dante Jones will take a deep dive into Thursday's storm system. And at 6 o'clock, I have your Eyewitness 7 photo of the week.
4 men now stand indicted, and more charges could be on the way in a corruption and fraud case. At 5:30, what former City Commissioner Joey Williams' attorney told News Center 7 as he left federal court.
A crash into a popular restaurant in this part of the valley could have had a much worse ending. When the car crashed and what was happening at the building that kept people safe. And right now, Dayton has part of a street closed, so crews can replace a water main right here. Until Friday, people living near Lakeview Avenue going to have to deal with this construction. News Center 7's Gabrielle Enright went to find out why crews are so busy.
Now that the weather is finally warming up, a lot of projects like this one in Dayton are underway. Work crews are digging up part of Lakeview Avenue. They're installing a new water main. Roy Davis lives nearby.
And if they jumping on it to fix it, great. Thanks. That's all I needed to know.
According to statistics, January and February are the most common months for water main breaks. In past years, hundreds of water main breaks were reported in the Miami Valley during those 2 months. Investigators say often the reason for the breaks is a temperature change. The ground will shift, then that causes old cast iron mains to break. During past conversations with Dayton City officials, I learned the city had a plan to repair and replace its aging water pipe infrastructure. Workers had plans to repair some pipes and replace others as quickly as money and weather would allow. Roy Davis says those who ride the bus will be more inconvenienced by this than he will.
As long as they're fixing it, I never really ask too much questions.
Weather permitting, this project on Lakeview Avenue is expected to wrap up Friday. These projects have closed down a lot of roads. For more information on anything you need to know that could affect your commute, go to WHIO.com and click on the traffic tab. In Dayton, Gabrielle Enright, News Center 7.
In the last 3 years, hit-and-run drivers have killed more than a dozen people, and those drivers are still out there. The I-Team went to find out why it's so hard to solve these cases.
State investigators looking for evidence in this pond in connection to a homicide where 4 members of the same family were found dead. What one neighbor says, he watched them pull out of the water. That could be a key piece of evidence.